Hello and welcome to another edition of Pulp Picks. My name is Patrick.
I'm Fritz.
And we're here to give you this week's reading recommendations on New Comic Book Day, as we do pretty much every week. But we'll get to that later. Fritz, what did you like this week?
So, continuing, we've had a couple picks from this, including the previous issue of this, but the new Night Terrors Detective Comics came in this week, and just like the last issue, I really enjoyed it. It is, man, the art in here is just super creepy in the best way. Like, if you ever wanted to see what would happen if, like, you took, like, the kind of Batmech from the super heavy arc that Snyder and Capullo did, like, years ago now, and just
the Commissioner Gordon one?
Yeah, and just, like, made it this, like, big monster that it's, like, it is scary, man. Like, it, like, that, and that's one of the things I really enjoyed about this whole Night Terrors thing is, like, really leaning into the horror side of things, because that's always been, like, a super big part of comics. Like, you look at a lot of the biggest stuff over the last couple of years, like, it's been a resurgence in horror books.
Yes.
And it's super cool to see this usually, like, pretty, like, pristine, like, clean superhero stuff get, like, mashed up against that.
Yeah. And DC, while, you know, in the golden age of comics, before the Code, never really delved that deeply into the dark horror stuff. They have been one of the companies that, since the Code, has done a good job of kind of mashing it in with their superhero stuff.
Yeah.
Swamp Thing is a good example.
And I mean,
Batman
and like the Batman stuff usually lends itself pretty heavily to that, because like his whole thing is like he inspires fear and like the cowardly and superstitious and whatnot. Like but here it's not Batman, it's Gordon having to deal with it, and he is like, in what I like about a lot of Gordon's stories is he's never like the most capable person for a lot of the troubles he's like thrown up against, but like he never gives up. Like he's like, that's part of like his whole like thing with Batman is like they are two guys that like no matter the odds they will like keep trying their best to like solve a problem. And it's super cool seeing like how he has to kind of like outthink opponents that he can't really like beat necessarily, especially in this where he's kind of turning to glass moment to moment. So like literally the wrong move will shatter him completely, and which also just makes for like a great visual as just like as he's deteriorating throughout the issue. And yeah, it's fun seeing him come up against these threats. And I think we've talked about before that like some of these like Night Terrors, like they're kind of like doing their own little thing. You don't have to really need to be like worried about like any of the ongoing stuff they're tied into. Some of them they are kind of like tying into a bit more. One of the things I like about this is it is one of those ones where it kind of like straddles the like both, where like you don't need to be reading the main detective series to enjoy this. It's just a fun little two-parter where it's Gordon dealing with stuff that's like way above his pay grade and somehow like persevering against it. But at the same time, if you have been reading Detective, it kind of deals with some of the themes that they've been dealing there, just like Batman's kind of like showing his age, like he's like slowing down a little. And like that's something they've also kind of been exploring the Zdarsky run on the main Batman title, just like what does it mean to Gotham and the people of Gotham when their protectors like are maybe losing a step or two? Like how terrifying that might be. Because like it's scary to be in Gotham with all the people being at their A game. Like if they're not on their A game, like stuff's going to get real bad real quick. And I really like kind of like them dealing with that. It's also kind of like sets up that like, yeah, things kind of get resolved in this issue, but maybe not. Like things might still get bad, like going forward. Like, spoiler alert, evil watches are a thing, and they might still be a thing.
The thing that I've liked about the detective one, and you know, full disclosure, I haven't read this one yet, but it was one of the first issue was one of my favorite of these, was that it's dipping more into kind of the psychological motivation for the nightmare that Gordon's having. And it's like, yeah, you know, for some of the superheroes, they've faced their fears so many times, you kind of know what they're afraid of, whatever. But for Gordon, it was really interesting. The problem that I've had with it is that watching the Harley Quinn series and seeing that Gordon, he keeps kind of popping into my brain every once in a while, and it makes it for a weird reading experience.
Oh, I'm happy I didn't think of that till I read this, because I would just be reading in his voice.
Yeah. But yeah, it's been really good so far. I've been enjoying it. I was pleasantly surprised.
It's we said this every week, but like the fact that like all the Night Terror stuff, and we'll get into that with your pick here in a second, has been like this consistently good, and just it's all, and like people have really been enjoying it. Like we've been having people like calling, like being like, oh, I want to get this one. Yep. Like people are like grabbing stuff at the back issue racks. Like it's been a very popular.
Yeah, usually when there's these crossover events, and because of the way that they put the main titles on pause, oftentimes we have no idea how many to order. We don't want to leave anybody, without. So we'll order as many as we do the regular title, and we'll end up with a whole bunch left over. We've only had a couple people say that they're passing on these event issues in these main titles and putting them back on the shelf, and other people are picking them up. So it's been really well received.
We even had one person like literally sign up for all the Night Terrors books, and like if you're watching, you know who you are, and we appreciate you.
Yes, absolutely, fantastic.
Yeah, but no. Speaking of more Night Terrors,
Well, I went with the main title, so Night Terrors number 4, and this is 4 of 6.
I think
5.
I think it's like 5, and then there's like a one shot that's kind of like
there's
the wrap up.
The Omega, because there was the Alpha, or whatever. There's going to be the Omega also. Right. Yeah. So here we go. Batman via Deadman inhabiting his body. Robin and Sandman, old school Golden Age Sandman,
who is also undead,
zombie Sandman. Yep. Thank you for the gas mask. Are all headed to confront our big bad villain here, Insomnia, and it's looking like this is going to be a heroic what for that they're going to give him, and doesn't quite go the way that they expected to. I really love the dead man sitting in front of the fire in the chair. What was that? Masterpiece Theater? Was that?
I think that's
PBS or whatever, where they'd have the old guy reading the book. Oh, hello, so we get that kind of narrator lead in, and then at the end of it, he's like, and that's where I really messed up. And it was just really good. The art here fits really well. It does a good job with the horror sequences. I think as far as all of the books in this Night Terrors thing, this main book has handled that in some of the most interesting ways.
Yeah, well, because they've had like specific, like they've designated between like THORs, like on like what's happening like the real world, or like whatever's being kind of, but then they've also got for like the more dreamlike sequences, they've got someone else doing it. So there's like this very clear delineation that kind of lets you know, like, oh, this is what's kind of happening here.
Yeah, and this is odd for me to say, but more Deadman after this. I know that
absolutely.
He's been in Justice League Dark quite a bit, but I'm really enjoying the whole Boston thing that they're doing here. It's very cool. Boston, the guy, not the city. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I really recommend it. And so now on to our consensus pick for the week. And I think, we've had a lot of weeks where we've been excited about many books and so on and so forth. Is this maybe the most slam dunk consensus pick that we've done?
I think we didn't even talk about it yesterday, but I think we knew just when we saw that it came in this week that this was going to be the consensus pick. Like without a doubt, like it would have been shocking if it wasn't.
Right, yeah.
But it is the Immortal Thor number 1. And if that heading gives you any indication, it's going to be a good time, because so obviously there's the current like Immortal X-Men, which has been on here a couple times, been really great. But the real reason you're probably getting drawn to that is the previous outing from this here writer, Al Ewing, also a frequent star of the show. Lord knows I pick him all the time. Yeah. But his previous series, Immortal Hulk, which was, I don't know about you, my personal favorite Hulk run. Yeah, it was probably the biggest Hulk run of like the past, like how many years now?
Maybe the best Hulk run of all time.
It's definitely honestly, up there, like on it, amazing. Like, and basically, I love how he put in an interview, like, if that was his Old Testament, this is his New Testament.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, which is like laying down the gauntlet real hard, real quick, but I don't know, this issue, if anything, definitely like sets up that like this is going to be a good Thor run. Like,
so the whole thing with the Immortal Hulk run was Ewing. I read, his interview or whatever leading into his run on there, and his whole thing was this started as being inspired by horror stuff. We're going to take Hulk back to his roots and get back to that horror monster kind of thing and tell a story from there. This immediately does a very similar thing in bringing Thor back to his roots of being a Norse god.
Yeah, but in that like very like sci-fi like superhero that like, because like you read the old like Kirby Lee stuff, like it's like they're like old Norse gods, but like the designs of everything has this very like sci-fi flair to it. There's like this kind of like pulpy feel to everything. Like it's all that stuff you expect with like, but with a twist, like.
Absolutely. And I think it's interesting because you could have been reading any of the most recent runs of Thor over the last 10 years or so and felt right at home reading this Thor. They did a good job of explaining that. But you also could have been reading Thor in like the 60s or 70s or 80s, like the Walt Simonson stuff or something. And this Thor still feels familiar. So I really appreciate how much Al Ewing seemingly dives into the characters and gets to know them so well. That being said, Thor's portrayal and the portrayal of the large cast of characters that Thor has around. I mean, one of the biggest supporting casts of Friends.
Yeah, I mean, like you've got the Warriors 4, you've got Sif, Loki obviously shows their face and is definitely up to something. Like
something's going on.
Something, and like the fact that like. They're up to something. No one seems to know they're up to something, and they genuinely feel bad about it. It seems like.
Yeah, I was going to say it's begrudgingly up to something.
Yeah, like it's just like that. Like it's one thing when Loki's like doing mischief and like they're being like cheeky, like hoo, what am I doing? But this one's just like, sorry, Thor. Like they and that means like something real bad's probably involved here.
Yeah, well, and
and spoiler alert, something real bad happens.
Stuff hits the fan at the end of this book. I really did like also how Ewing was able to explain why Thor is, so Thor's the Allfather, and but also drawn to Earth so strongly, and the people in Earth, and particularly a city, New York.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really well done, deftly handled, and it made it. It kind of gave me a warm fuzzy when I was reading about it. Like, aw.
Well, like I don't know if you read. There's like at the back of this, there's a Ewing kind of.
I started it.
Yeah, he wrote like a letter, kind of explaining like how he fell in love with Thor, and one of the two, and like you mentioned at the end, like two of the things he wants to stipulate with his run, and one of the things is like that he likes Thor best when he smiles.
Yeah,
and that's part of the thing here is just like. This feels like a Thor that like everyone can kind of relate to. Like he's just like that like super nice guy that's always looking out for you. Like I think he might have said this in another interview, but like that there's kind of like a Superman vibe to how he's writing Thor.
Sure.
But like not in a way that like takes away like he's still very much Thor. Like he's still have parties with his like after a battle. He's still like he's just kind of like his way about things. It's just I don't know. I just love how like they kind of get into like Thor the last couple years between like Jason Aaron's run and Donny Cates' run has been like very much about like trying to find himself, like realize what it means to be a god, what it means to be a king. And this is like Thor now that he has done those things and he's just got this measure of peace he hasn't had in like a decade now. And it's kind of interesting to see like what it means for Thor to be on top of his game up against things that are like maybe more on top of their game.
Right, yeah, they're at another level. Is the way that this is being explained. So it's going to be really interesting.
And it's also one of the things that Ewing does on like a lot of his books is like the nature of stories and the nature of change and how those affect each other. And I don't know, I love when he gets into that with stuff, and I really like what he's doing with that. Just like, what does it mean to like be a god in a narrative? Like, what happens when like maybe you're not like the top of the pyramid in terms of like being a god? Like it's and like how that like affects the story and how the story affects that. It's I don't know. The fact that he said he's already had this kind of like at least mapped out to being 50 issues like Immortal Hulk was. Like, yeah, like he's like, he knows where he's going with this, and I could not be more excited for that.
Yeah, it's this felt very much like when you get on the roller coaster and it's kind of going click, 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 click,
yeah,
click, and you're just excited the whole time. And I feel like we're just at the very top, hanging on there. And it's just going to be a wild ride. I'm so excited for it. So fantastic. Well, typically we do these videos every single week. Next week we won't be here because I'm leaving town.
He won't. Technically I'll be in the store, but
yeah. So if you want picks next week, come in and visit Fritz and Jesse on Wednesday. They'll be here helping everybody out. In the meantime, be sure to like, follow, subscribe, check us out on social media, and check out our website. You can, with your account set up, subscribe to books. You can purchase stuff and all that kind of fun stuff. So if you want to make sure that you don't miss out on Immortal Thor, but you can't get in here, that's a great way to do it.
Yeah, because I would not be shocked if, like, maybe not today yet, but like before long, this might sell out the first issue.
Absolutely. I think it's going to be Immortal Hulk like in that fact. And we ordered a bunch, but don't take any chances because this is going to be the hottest book for its run, probably. Yeah, just like Hulk was. So fantastic. Well, thank you again for joining us, and we'll see you week after next. Have a great day.
Great, but
yeah. Hey, so we were talking about this when we were looking at the previews for this, and X-Men stuff. Is that what I'm recognizing this from? Where had
Coca-Cola?
Yeah.
Oh no, he actually did a little bit of Thor previously during the Banner of War arc with the Hulk.
Aaron?
No, during Kate's run, there was the...
okay.
He did a little bit of that. He's done, like, stuff here and there. I don't think he's had, like, a regular title he's been on.
Oh.
Yeah, but he's, like, one of their young guns, so, like, they're definitely wanting to... Yeah, no, the guy in the Avengers has done some X-Men stuff.
Yeah, he's that's right. He's got this interesting cross between a number of different artists who have done Thor. It's a little reminiscent of, the jawline and the build and everything is a little reminiscent of, who was it that did a lot of Straczynski's?
Capella? I think it's like Oliver Capella or something.
Copiel, yeah.
Copiel, yes.
Oliver Copiel. Yeah, it's got kind of a little
he's
bit of
like that very, very just like thickly built.
Yeah, like, I like the lantern jaw.
Yeah, like dude is like a meat mountain. We're keeping that in Meat Mountain.